He sat in his car after another fight, the words still echoing. Her face cold, her tone sharper than a blade. His chest felt heavy, not with anger, but with the same question that haunted him every time. What did I do wrong? He replayed the night in his mind. He remembered the moment he stayed silent when she mocked him in front of her friends. The moment he smiled to hide the sting, telling himself it wasn't worth the argument. And now, here he was again, gripping the wheel, staring into the dark. Drowning in the weight of a silence he never chose. This is the wound that never healed. The wound that teaches you, even as a boy, that love must be earned. Maybe your father never looked at you with pride unless you excelled. Maybe your mother gave affection only when you behaved perfectly. Or maybe it was the quiet pressure to be the one who never caused trouble. The one who kept peace while your own needs were ignored. Whatever the origin, the message was the same: to be loved. You had to perform, and so, as a man, you carry that script into every relationship. You don't simply want love, you crave validation. You long for someone to finally say, "You are enough." But instead of demanding it from life, you try to buy it. You pay with patience, with forgiveness, with silence. You offer kindness, not as a free gift, but as a desperate currency, praying it will secure the affection you fear losing. Women sense this hunger, especially the ones who thrive on control. They may not name it, but they feel it the way your laughter tightens when she crosses a line. The way you rush to comfort, even when you're the one in pain. The way you never risk saying no. To her, your kindness is not strength. It is opportunity. Think of it like a house built without doors. Anyone can walk in, rearrange the furniture, leave chaos behind, and you will still say, "Welcome." You mistake endless access for proof of loyalty. But in truth, it is proof of fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of abandonment. Fear that if you draw even a single boundary, she will leave and your wound will bleed again. This is why toxic women are drawn to men like you. Not because they seek love, but because they sense a stage for their shadows. They test, they push, they pull. Not because they crave intimacy, but because they crave control. And every time you yield, every time you forgive without consequence, every time you silence your truth, you confirm their power. But here is the truth you've avoided. Kindness without boundaries is not love, it is surrender. And surrender, repeated often enough, erases you. You wake up one day and realize you are no longer a man in her eyes. You are a servant. A provider of validation. A background character in her story. This is not the destiny of all men. Thousands of men are waking up to this realization. Men who once sat in cars at night, staring into the dark, convinced they were broken. They are discovering that the problem was never their kindness. It was the mask covering the wound. And once the mask is removed, the wound can finally be healed. Because true kindness chosen freely, protected by boundaries, is strength. It is the strength that commands respect, not pity. The strength that attracts love, not manipulation. The strength that transforms you from a man begging to be chosen into a man who chooses. Explains the pattern, but it does not define your future. What defines your future is whether you will keep hiding behind the mask, or finally step into the man who wears no disguise. He remembered the first time she tested him. They were at dinner, laughing, drinking, when she made a cutting remark about him in front of her friends. His instinct told him it was disrespect, but he forced a smile. Don't make it a big deal, he thought. The laughter carried on, but inside, something broke. She noticed. She always noticed. And that was the moment her radar locked onto him. Toxic women don't always operate with deliberate malice. Often, it is instinct. Just as a predator senses weakness in the herd, she senses hesitation in a man. The slight pause before he says no. The nervous laugh when his boundary is crossed. The eagerness to please, when he should remain still. These signals, invisible to him, are like flashing lights to her. They tell her everything she needs to know: how far she can push, how much he will tolerate, how easily she can control him. Kindness without resistance does not look like virtue to her, it looks like permission. And permission invites tests. She will withdraw affection, then return it, in bursts. She will criticize, then follow with sudden warmth. She will create storms, then soothe you with moments of tenderness. You think this is passion. You think it means she feels deeply. But it is not passion. It is reinforcement conditioning, the same method used to train animals. Intermittent chaos, followed by crumbs of comfort, and you fall for it because of your wound. The boy inside you still believes that if you endure enough, you will finally be chosen. So you cling to every scrap of affection, as if it proves your worth. What you don't see is that every silence, every excuse, every time you swallow your truth, is not keeping her love alive, is feeding her shadows. This is the game of shadows. She projects her chaos onto you, and you absorb it. She tests, and you fail to resist. She pushes, and you retreat. And each time, the respect erodes. Respect always dies before love does. She may still say she loves you. She may still stay in your bed. But the fire in her eyes fades the moment she knows you will not push back. Respect is the currency of attraction. Without it, desire withers. And once desire dies, love becomes conditional. You are kept only as long as you are useful for validation, useful as a mirror, useful as a stage where her drama can unfold. Thousands of men around the world know this feeling. The moment when they realize they are not loved for who they are, but for how much they can be bent. They share the same quiet shame. Why didn't I say something? Why didn't I walk away sooner? But silence does not mean you are broken. It only means you were never taught the truth. That love without respect is not love. The radar of a toxic woman never lies. She is not drawn to your strength. She is drawn to the fracture beneath it. And until you confront that fracture, you will meet the same face in 1,000 different women. Different names. Different smiles. The same ending. Stared at his phone, waiting for a message that never came. Hours earlier, they had argued. She stormed out, slamming the door. His heart raced with dread, but beneath it was a strange thrill, the hope that when she returned, her embrace would feel even sweeter. That cycle of pain and reward had already woven its claws into him. What he didn't realize was that he wasn't waiting for her. He was waiting for the high. The human brain is wired for patterns of reward, and the most powerful of these is unpredictability. Psychologists call it intermittent reinforcement. When love is steady, the mind feels calm, safe, secure. But when affection is given and withdrawn at random, the brain releases dopamine in spikes. The craving becomes stronger. The chaos becomes addictive. And suddenly, love is no longer love, it is a slot machine. Every toxic relationship follows this rhythm. She pulls away without warning, and your stomach twists into knots. She returns with sudden affection, and relief floods your chest, addictive as a drug. Each cycle deepens the hook. You start to confuse anxiety with passion, tension with intimacy, relief with love. You think, no woman has ever made me feel like this before. And you are right, not because it's real, but because it's engineered. Picture a gambler at a casino. He knows the odds are against him. He knows the house always wins. But the moment he pulls the lever and the lights flash, he feels alive. That is you, in the arms of a toxic woman. You keep spinning the wheel, hoping this time you'll hit the jackpot, the version of her who is consistent, stable, loving. Sometimes you do win. She kisses you, praises you, makes you feel like her world. But it never lasts. And that fleeting win is what keeps you at the table. Throwing away your soul, one coin at a time. Men around the world know this cycle. Sleepless nights staring at the ceiling. The knot in the stomach when she doesn't reply. The surge of relief when she finally does. The whispered lie, she just needs me. If I hold on, she'll change. But she doesn't change. She doesn't have to. The cycle itself is the leash. What makes this dangerous is that your mind begins to equate pain with love. You start to believe that real relationships must be a narcissistic, that true intimacy requires struggle, that suffering is proof of depth. It's a lie. But it's a lie reinforced with every chemical hit your brain takes when she disappears and returns. And here's the cruelest truth, she knows. She may not call it dopamine, but she knows when to pull away and when to come back. She feels when you're on the edge of breaking, and that's when she gives you just enough to keep you invested. She is not feeding you love, she is feeding you a pattern, and the pattern is the addiction. This is why leaving feels impossible. It's not just her you're losing, it's the drug. And like any addict, you tell yourself you can stop whenever you want. That one more spin won't hurt, that the next time will be different. But it never is. The casino is rigged. And the longer you play, the more you lose, not just your peace, but your identity. Pain is not passion. Confusion is not intimacy. And the highs and lows you've mistaken for love are nothing more than the mechanics of addiction. Until you face this truth, you will keep waiting for the next message, the next apology, the next burst of affection, convinced it means something more than what it is. Pot never comes. The house always wins, and the only way to break the game is to walk away from the table. He remembered the moment clearly. She raised her voice, insulted him in front of others, and he swallowed it. Not because he agreed, but because he told himself it was easier to stay silent than to risk the fight. He went home with a tight chest, convincing himself it was just one moment, that it didn't matter. But it did matter. Every silence, every concession, every time he allowed himself to be erased in the name of peace, each one was a thread in the rope, slowly tightening around his own neck. There is nothing wrong with being a good man. The world is starving for men who are loyal, dependable, capable of love. But goodness, without resistance, is not strength, it is surrender. When your kindness has no edges, it stops being a gift and becomes a liability. And when a toxic woman discovers that your patience is limitless, she doesn't admire it. She uses it. Respect dies the moment she realizes you cannot say no. Love may linger, attraction may flicker, but desire is extinguished when boundaries disappear. Desire feeds on strength. It thrives when a man has the courage to draw lines, to defend his dignity, to refuse to be molded into something he is not. Without that courage, you stop being a man in her eyes and become a tool, reliable background. Safe to exploit, but impossible to respect. Many men mistake this erasure for devotion. They believe that giving more, forgiving more, absorbing more, is proof of loyalty. But love without limits is not devotion, it is self-abandonment. It is pouring yourself out until nothing remains. It is flooding your own life with someone else's chaos and calling it sacrifice. Boundaries are not cruelty. They are the structure that gives your kindness weight. A river without banks is not strength, it is a flood. A flame without a container is not warmth, it is destruction. In the same way, kindness without boundaries doesn't heal love, it drowns it. This is why so many men wake up years into toxic relationships and do not recognize themselves. They see a ghost in the mirror. A man who once had opinions, passions, direction, now reduced to silence. Walking on eggshells, measuring every word in fear of the next explosion. And ghosts are never desired. They are tolerated at best, discarded at worst. You need to hear this truth. Your silence is not noble. Your endless patience is not love. Your refusal to say no is not strength. It is the slow erosion of who you are. And when a man erodes, the relationship collapses with him. Thousands of men are learning this truth. They are finding that the word no does not push love away, protects it. They are discovering that a boundary is not the end of intimacy, it is the beginning of respect. And respect is the soil where love can actually grow. The price of kindness without boundaries is too high. It costs you your dignity, your respect, your identity. And no relationship, no matter how intoxicating, is worth that. If you want to be loved, not as a servant, but as a man, your kindness must have edges. Your patience must have limits. Your love must be given with strength, not fear. Only then does kindness become power. And only then does love stop consuming you and start building you. He reached the point of collapse. Sitting on the edge of his bed, shoulders slumped. He realized he had given everything: time, energy, pride, and received nothing in return but contempt. That night, something shifted. He understood that survival required more than kindness. It required strength. Not the cold strength of shutting down, but the living strength of combining compassion with authority. This is the birth of the compassionate warrior, a man who still feels deeply, but refuses to be ruled by his wounds. A man who can love fully, but never at the expense of himself. His kindness is no longer a mask, it is a blade, sharpened by discernment, wielded with intention. He knows when to open his heart, and when to defend it. The compassionate warrior forgives, but not endlessly. Because forgiveness without consequence is not love, it is permission. He listens, but he does not tolerate manipulation. He gives, but only from abundance, never from emptiness. His love is not a bargain struck out of fear. It is a gift, chosen with strength. This paradox is what makes him magnetic. Women feel the difference immediately. Toxic women, who once sensed weakness, now sense sovereignty. They may test him, but they cannot move him. His worth does not hang on their approval. His silence is not surrender, it is power. His boundaries are not walls, they are signals. And those signals repel chaos. Healthy women respond in another way. They are drawn to his balance. They feel safe in his strength, because they see it is rooted in integrity, not control. They respect him, because he respects himself. They admire him because his love is fierce yet free, powerful yet tender. He does not need them to heal him, but he chooses them to walk beside him. That choice, born of clarity, ignites desire that no toxic dynamic can match. Every man who finds this path carries scars. The boy inside him who once begged for validation is still there, but the man has learned to lead. He no longer searches for a mother in his partners, no longer bargains for scraps of affection, no longer sacrifices his soul for the illusion of connection. He has faced the wound, named it, and built a fortress around his heart, not a fortress of stone, but of fire, letting in those who honor it and burning away those who do not. The compassionate warrior is rare, but he is not impossible. Thousands of men are awakening to this truth. They are reclaiming their strength, not by abandoning love, but by guarding it. They are proving that true intimacy does not come from surrendering boundaries, but from defending them. They are showing that respect is not the enemy of love, is its foundation. This is the turning point. The moment you stop being the man who begs to be chosen, and become the man who chooses. The moment you stop mistaking drama for depth, chaos for passion, surrender for devotion, and in that moment, the cycle ends. You step into this strength, you no longer attract women who thrive on shadows. You attract women who thrive on truth. And that is the difference between a life of pain and a life of freedom. There comes a day when the pattern no longer controls you. The day when you look back at the sleepless nights, the endless arguments, the years of silence and surrender, and you finally understand. It was never love that chained you, it was the wound. And a wound, once seen, loses its power. You know now why toxic women were drawn to you. You know the radar they used, the casino they built, the price you paid for kindness without edges. But you also know the turning point. You have seen the man who combines compassion with strength, who guards his heart without closing it, who chooses rather than begs to be chosen. That man is not a fantasy. That man is you, when you decide the cycle ends here. Freedom is not in rejecting love. It is in rejecting illusions. It is in no longer confusing chaos with passion, manipulation with intimacy, pain with devotion. It is in demanding respect before affection, truth before desire, strength before surrender. That clarity does not make you colder, it makes you unshakable. And here is what many men never realize. When you choose differently, women respond differently. Toxicity cannot survive where boundaries are firm. Shadows cannot live in the light of truth. The very energy that once drew in chaos now attracts authenticity. The very wound that once controlled you becomes the scar that proves your strength. If these words have struck something deep in you, do not let the moment pass. I have placed essential books and resources in the description below. They are not there to be collected, but to be used as weapons of clarity, as maps to protect your future, as tools that can save you years of repeating the same cycle. Thousands of men have found freedom through them. You can too. And if you are ready to go even further, stay with me, because the story continues. The next step reveals another truth that every man must face. She seemed perfect, until she destroyed you from the inside. That is where we go next. Until then, carry this with you. You were never weak for loving deeply. You only lacked the strength to guard that love. Now you have seen the truth. And now you can choose differently. That choice is your freedom.